Thank you to the library. I've lived here since 1975, East Hampton, in my library since that time. It's been a while. I've actually taught classes here and many libraries on Suffolk County and at Suffolk Community College. The convention conferences. That's all in the bio in the back of the book, rather than my telling you all about myself. Steve mentioned a few things. And also, I do have a website, myname.com, EileenObser.com, tells even more. And I also put on that I'm reading my work, some of my published essays. There are a couple of them on there about tenants. They are not in this book, but you might enjoy reading them. Not easy tenants. I've had good tenants, bad tenants, good, bad, and ugly, I call them. And some to this day, I'm still friendly with after 20-something years. But I want to tell you about the background. I have to put my glasses on for this. First, thank you to Tom Clavin, wrote a very nice piece this week in the press newspapers, the arts section about the book, and David Rattray of the East Hampton Star gave it a more detailed description tonight and about me. It was very nice. As far as my writing, I've been writing since my childhood, and most writers I talk to tell me the same thing. Is that Jeff? Yeah. Hi, Jeff. Jeff Nichols. Again, since childhood I've been writing. And I could go into details about that, but I'm not. It's actually in my memoir, Only You, which was published first in 2014, then in 2007, renewed by my publisher now in 2019. And if you haven't read it, maybe you will sometime. And just going into the details of what inspired me to write as a young child. What does we go to about the author in the back of this book? My preparation here. Well, again, I've been teaching writing, fiction and nonfiction, for almost 30 years. I can hardly believe this. And my essays have been published all over the place, but they're not famous ones that, like, I made some of the big newspapers, but not the New York Times, except maybe a couple of letters to the editor. And a description. Some of you have read this. All of you, I think, over here in Prussia, and some of you watching right now. And Diana Long is an attractive middle-aged widow who rents rooms in her East Hampton home, but she's feeling pressure to make changes in her life. Loves the Hamptons, but should she sell the house and move on? Should she stay, perhaps settling for just one tenant or housemate, or only rent seasonally? So that's just the beginning of description of that. And yeah, I want to, that's a little bit about Diana, who's the main character, who's the landlady. And then the author's note in the beginning of the book. Oh, I'll tell you that. I do want to read this. 3 Rooms Shared Bed is a work of fiction. Characters and incidents are products of the author's imagination. Here is 2008, and the tourist season this Labor Day week is winding down in the Hamptons. Some tenants are leaving, other tenants are moving in for the off-season. And landlords and landladies can only hope their new guests will adhere to the house rules. Hampton's celebrities, locales, places of interest, summer events, shops, roads, restaurants, and landmarks are real, as are details of the 2008 Democratic National Convention and other news stories of that week. I did a lot of research to make sure all of this was real. I even have a page of the weather of every day of that week, what the weather was like, morning, noon, and night. I'm like that. I wanted to be accurate. Characters, fictionalized. The incidents are changed around. That's called fiction. But I wanted the Hamptons to be real. And I'm getting a lot of interesting feedback for that. I want to, in the book, so those of you who have read it, nearly everyone here is present. I hope this is seen on the screen, the map. I'm very pleased with this Hamptons map that my son created. My son was in California. He spent some of his younger years here, and he's a professional photographer. So why shouldn't I ask him to do a map, right? He was pleased to do it. And then I mentioned the word that we hope that the tenants will pay attention to the rules. At home, I even brought it with me, a whole page of rules that I didn't hand out to tenants over the years, but I discussed the rules with them. And I want you to know that many of them were ignored. And so I took some of the rules and find the page. And every other chapter in the book has a rule preceding it. And the book designer did all the graphics around it. So this is the first rule for chapter one. No smoking or drugs or weapons in house. I want you to know all of those rules were times disobeyed, okay? Sounds funny, but not when it's going on. So in the opening, in the first chapter, Diana is in her living room. She's in her early 50s, very attractive, blonde hair, and she's listening to music and dancing, doing exercises because every day in her living room, every day she can. And the phone rings. There's the opening. The call came after lunch on Wednesday afternoon. Hello, my name is Bazia, the woman said. I see in the newspaper that you have room. It wasn't a Spanish accent. As an ESL teacher, Diana spotted those easily. There were so many Latinos living in the Hamptons, from Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, and other countries. Yes, Diana held the phone to her ear as she cleared the table and rinsed her plate and cup. I have a room. Do you need it in September? No, I need room right now. Now, right before the Labor Day weekend? I am looking for a place year-round, Bazia said. I am living in house 2 years now. It is too much. They smoke, they drink, they're using drugs. They're crazy, and I am getting crazy too. Where are you from? Diana managed to ask. She straightened the pile of New Yorkers and other magazines and books on the whole shelf as she spoke, then turned off the TV. Enough news for now about Obama and the Democratic Convention. Later she would tune in again. Poland. I am Polish. Wozia Godlewski. But I am here 14 years. I am citizen. Amazing. So many years in the U.S. and she still hadn't lost that thick accent. Diana wondered about her vocabulary skills. But no, she wasn't asking her to teach her better English. She just wanted to find a room. Do you have a job out here, Bazia? A standard question, as in, can you afford the rent? Yes, I am a massage therapist at Spa in Sag Harbor. I know trouble. I don't drink or smoke. I am very clean and quiet. They all said this more or less. I'm quiet, I'm clean, I can pay the rent on time. After the tenants moved in, a different story began to unfold. In their minds, they probably were clean, quiet, and cooperative. Perhaps it's my brain that's at fault. Diana checked her eye makeup in the hall mirror. She couldn't see things the way most of these tenants did. And to be honest, she didn't want strangers living in her house anymore. Since Gary died, she depended on the income. You can come over and see the room, she told Bazia. I have a smaller one also that I can show you. After this weekend, the larger room I advertise will be available. I come at 6 o'clock today after my last massage appointment. Okay, Mrs.? That will be fine. I look forward to meeting you. She gave her the directions. See you soon. So that's introducing Bazia, who's a very large character in the book, as most of you know, who are here in person, and I think a lot of people watching this program know too. I also want to introduce you to Mark, another, well, you'll see, character in the tenant. The room that's going to be available is now occupied by Mark upstairs. It's large. The room had been Diana's master bedroom. After Gary died, she moved downstairs to the large room that had once been their office before becoming his sick room. I don't have it written here, but he did have pancreatic cancer, which didn't let him become ill. He died after, within 6 months. It was now her bedroom and office combined, big enough for her queen-size bed, dresses and bookshelves, plus her spacious office area, desk, computer, and printer, file cabinets. The large skylight above her desk gave her much pleasure in all seasons of the year. Besides the trees, she loved watching the moon passing over and the stars, plus the lightning, rain, and snowstorms. Mark came in with an attitude and would leave with one. On his second Saturday living in the house, he asked Diana for directions to Hampton Bays. He and his friend Colin, a short, quiet fellow who had moved in when Mark did, into the third and smallest bedroom upstairs, but who left in mid-August, were going to party there, he told her. I hear that that's the place for drinking in hot babes. He pointed to his friend. Colin here is a real chick magnet. I suggest you don't drive home, Mark, Diana said. The police were everywhere on summer weekends looking out for young men like him. If you plan on drinking with the hot babes, you better sleep in your car or at someone's house or behind a dune on the beach. But Mark didn't take her advice. Colin came home alone in the middle of the night by a $125 taxi ride from Hampton Bays, a distance of 20 miles. Mark had been locked up overnight for driving while intoxicated. Why didn't you guys listen to me? She asked Colin. He shrugged his shoulders, climbing slowly and straight-faced up the stairs to his room. So that's introducing you to Mark. And I have a little more to read, then I will talk in between. Questions I would like you to wait till the end, even though some of you who are here in person have read the book, you may have questions, and hopefully the Zoom people will tune in too with questions. I don't know if that's on the screen. Yes, okay, so that's all taken care of. So the third part, just to put it into the time zone, you've read two of the tenants. The book goes into good tenants as well, but I just wanted to introduce you to this particular guys, tenants. And then chapter 2, I wanted to focus on what was going on this week. And nationally, the whole country was riveted to the news because of Barack Obama's nomination for president. Last night, on the second day of the convention, Diana sat alone in the living room and watched as Hillary Clinton spoke to a rousing audience of what seemed like thousands of Democrats. With cheers and clapping, Clinton said how happy she was to be there and how pleased she was to be a proud supporter of Barack Obama. That's in quotes. The beaming faces of Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, Michelle Obama, and other Democrats shown on the screen. About halfway through her speech, Hillary said, to more applause and cheers, I support Barack Obama for president. No way, no how, no McCain. Again, in research, I wound up watching everything from that convention. And I wasn't really protected those speeches under copyright, so I couldn't use many quotes. It was all right. That would have just cluttered up, I think, my story, get the idea. And the same, I have chapter, oh yeah, okay. She goes out to dinner with her good friend Frank, who we will meet in here. He's not a boyfriend. He's a good friend of Diana's and was of her late husband, Gary. Okay? And they have this routine of going out once a week together for dinner. And they have this, he pays one week, she pays the next kind of deal. And this week they're at Chittagong on Newtown Lane. All of you here in person know that restaurant. So while they're reading out, they're reflecting on different things. And prior to this dinner, in honor of this library, they had Frank and she attended Authors Night in early August, which we just had at this library, an annual benefit for the East Hampton Library. More than 80 writers were signed up for the event. And of course, Alec Baldwin was there. I was there, but I didn't remember the details. But I researched that with the help, by the way, of the Long Islander, Andrea. And so the people I mentioned here were there, and some of them were here this year, like Robert Caro, Tom Clavin, they were here this year as well. And Frank is a journalist, so he knew a lot of the people. A lot of fun with that. But now she's been complaining about a couple of tenants during the meal. So they go through that and other good conversations, and they sit on Main Street and watch people passing by. A little different now than it was in 2008, I feel. And I just want to find that, yes. I hope you can hear me. Oh, yes. After dinner, they strolled through the village. It was cloudy and humid. The temperature was in the mid-60s. Main Street was jammed with slicks, as Frank referred to them. Slick clothing, slick cars, slick houses, and slick attitudes. Don't lose me. Diana held onto his arm. Besides the pedestrians, there were dogs of different sizes and baby strollers to contend with, plus Starbucks containers and dripping ice cream cones. Frank and she looked at each other as they noticed a tall, suntanned, executive-type guy in a yellow plaid shirt, navy shorts, and Sperry topsiders. He was smoking a cigar. Okay, Frank said in a low voice, is that a Republican or a Democrat? I wonder where he parked the yacht. Diana looked around. A woman and child passed by wearing identical Ralph Lauren straw hats with paisley trims. We should get those and wear them when we walk through town, Frank said. They look adorable. So they go on about that. And it does go into details, which I can't read to you here too long. But when they get back to her house, after he drops her off at the house, they had been talking, each of them as part of the conversation. Maybe you should have kept running the place as a B&B, Frank had said at the restaurant, after she told him about Mark's arrest. People are in and out only on weekends. You have the middle of the week to yourself. I got tired of the turnover, Diana told them. Those faces and names were a blur after a while. I was a laundress and a cleaning lady. I hated all the housework, and I had to keep putting out continental breakfasts. You put the stuff out on the kitchen counter, they help themselves. True, but I had the guests in my face in the kitchen and the dining room. I'd look out back and they were sitting on the deck. They wanted to talk. I kept praying they'd go off to the beach, go anywhere. You let them do that. You could have told them to stay in their rooms, eat in the driveway or in their cars. Like a lousy B&B manager, Frank. True, he said, you were good at it. You told me you enjoyed it. I figured this might be easier. Same people all summer, right through fall. Off-season tenants now and then. Sighed. It sure feels hard to deal with ones like this kid Mark. You could go back to being a librarian. I know you stopped because Gary got sick. You could get a job doing that part-time since you don't want full-time. I think about that. I enjoy the work, but I prefer part-time teaching now and my volunteer work. He shook his head. You don't want to listen to any of my ideas. You won't let me help you. You can help me by passing that breadbasket, she told him, smiling. End of scene. Here's another rule. Minimum alcohol, please. Hear me? Yes. Oh, this is such a chapter when Ozzy is moving in, and we're part of it. How am I doing on time? Fine. Okay. A bright yellow Volkswagen Beetle convertible raced up the driveway. The top was down on this cool, dry, early evening. Diana watched as a tall blonde woman got out and walked toward the house, Vazia. She was at the front door as Diana opened it, and Vazia quickly engulfed her in a warm, tight hug, like they were lifelong friends, family even, her Polish relative from the old country. Vazia was taller than Diana, in her mid-30s, with blue eyes and bright red lipstick. She was well tanned, and waves of streaked blonde hair fell about her face, kind of movie starish, Diana thought. She wore a white t-shirt that spelled Diva in green and silver sequins and white gym pants, and she smelled of citrus, fresh and pleasant. I am so happy to meet you, Vazia said, giving Diana another hug. She looked around the hallway. What a lovely house. I will be so happy here. She spied Wally, who was wagging his tail, trying to get close to her. That's Diana's dog, and he is throughout the whole book. He was such a wonderful doggy. She bent down to hug him and planted a big kiss on his head. I help take care of you. Mama will be so happy I watch after you. Wally rolled over on his back. I rub you, yes, I give you good exercise. She reached up and handed Diana a burr that the dog probably picked up in the bushes. Is he about to get a massage? Diana wondered. You'll be my pet too. Is that okay, Mr. Wally Dog? Let me show you around, which he does, okay? And that is very, readable, but I can't read it to you now. It gets into the topic of references, which is avoided in the conversation. Just references, which I've been through before. And when Frank, she remembers Frank saying, after they walked down the stairs and Bozzy is leaving, but you could hear Frank's voice echoing from the walls. Don't you check the backgrounds of these people? You could get a serial killer in there. Next thing you know, I'll be going to your funeral. Enough on that, you'll have to read it. Another rule, I won't go through all of them, but this room is for one person only, no overnight guests. It turns out that Vazia does have a boyfriend and pouts when she's told that you really can't have boyfriends staying over, right? And Diana reflects on the many people who have ignored that over the years. And again, I must say, a lot of this is based on my own experiences being a landlady, but I have to fictionalize everything. You can't just write a memoir about this, you get in trouble. But so many people know me as a nonfiction writer and a memoirist that right till this morning on an email, I got a question. It's true. Does this really happen to you? And I don't even want to tell friends or family. Maybe they think I really did, whatever. So you're guessing it's not okay. But one friend today, she wrote she wanted to put a review on Amazon, but couldn't figure out how to do it. But she asked about anyway. That it's fiction. You have to. I don't feel like telling everybody the truth, but some of you who know me in this room know about, not every detail, but know a lot about my background. Okay, well here we are. Ozzy comes the next day because Marcus said he'll leave a little bit earlier, but the little room is available upstairs. That's vacant. So Ozzy is moving in her stuff, a lot of stuff, as it turns out. And they're up and down the stairs. She and Steve, her boyfriend, with packed, boxes and bags. And so when they were out of their car, Diana climbed the stairs to see what's going on. Once they were out resting by their cars, Diana ran upstairs. Oh my God. She said it so loud that Frank climbed up after her. Everything okay up there? Then he saw it too. Holy shit. Bosnia had moved so many boxes, large plastic containers, and clothing on hangers into the small room that there was barely any room for her to move around or less sleep there. There were piles of linens tossed on the bed. And she had brought still more stuff upstairs and down to the basement, which Diana offered as extra storage space. She watched Frank's deadpan expression as she said it after introductions had been made. He didn't offer to help them, but did say, watch that you don't hurt yourselves. He had come over, actually, she figured it out, to meet Bosnia, She did. I am a masseuse, Bosnia told him. I am strong. And as soon as her arms were clear of stuff, she handed him her business card. Bosnia Godlewski, massage therapy, call any time. Frank smiled and put the card in his shirt pocket. Thank you. You never know when we might need your services, dear. Was he trying to flatter the young woman, or was he flirting? That's so true, Diana said, holding her own card. We'll have to keep these on our refrigerators. Frank caught the sarcasm, but Bosnia was apparently unaware of the slight. I am very good at what I do, she said as she hauled another huge plastic box down to the basement. There was no more space upstairs, perhaps not even for Bosnia. Anyway, so that goes back and forth a little bit. Then they go outside to rest up, Frank and she, and talk outside on the deck. And this goes into some detail of past tenants, and I want to just read a little bit of this. Diana pointed, I really do hope that Bosnia works out. She hasn't even spent the night here, and I find her exhausted. So here's Frank. Remember 2 years ago on Labor Day weekend? Frank patted her hand. Those two people who called you on a Saturday? How could I forget? They were coming for 2 nights, and they gave me their credit card number. I figured Evelyn could run the card at her B&B. She referred them to me after all and said she wouldn't mind. Wally raced to the fence, barking furiously at a squirrel in the yard, running to a tree. Get him, Wal. Frank clapped his hands. I wonder what he'll do if he ever catches one of those critters. The couple never showed up. Diana had dialed the number in her caller ID and there was no answer. No answering machine either. Damn, she found it wasn't even a real number. Conniving bastards, Frank said, scowling. Bosnia's got to be better than that. She's staying for more than a weekend, Diana reminded him, and she hasn't even paid me when she's supposed to. Gave her like a $200 deposit. So Frank was petting Wally. And you haven't forgotten the criminal lawyer who freaked you out a few years ago. It's close to an actual person, I can't say exactly, but Boris, that was the guy's name that I gave, as in Karloff. It was for a whole week, July 4th through the following week. A defense attorney, he told me. So strange looking, with those deep dark eyes and pale skin, and quiet. He gave me the creeps. A man who appreciated great literature, right? Couldn't believe it when I went up to give him fresh towels, those titles. Final Truth, the autobiography of a serial killer. Another book, The Mormon Murder, a true story of greed, forgery, deceit, and death. Another book, Son, a psychopath and his victims. Frank laughed. He called me in a panic. He raised his voice. Would you mind coming over and sleeping on the couch, Frank? Such a scared little girl. Diana hit him on the arm. And you wouldn't come over? I thought about it, Frank said, but I was on deadline and a friend was coming to visit. I worried about you, though. That's comforting. Diana stood up and pointed to the gardens. So beautiful out here, isn't it? I know you love it. I do. He looked at the clock. He was staying for lunch. No, he had to go. Anyway, they were talking about the convention. They're going back to watch that later by themselves. And next he was in the Honda and out the driveway. Diana could hear the car radio tuned to the convention update probably. The news guy was listening to the news reports. I have a little more time and I want to talk to you about this. Never tell when you can hear me on the okay. So they did restructure the previous tenants I described. And then I have that I really like, and I had a dog, I don't have a dog anymore, but years ago, this came from my life, you know, it's fictionalized here, but I actually drew on that memory. So in a sense, David Rattray of the Star and Tom Clavin still felt there was a little bit of memoir in my story, and they wrote that, you know. Probably right, you know, when I look, especially this chapter about, I used to take my dog down to Maidstone Park to exercise for both of us. She does the same, Diana, and very detailed in the book, but I'm not going to go into that. But I will, one of her reminiscences. Gary used to walk this road with her, Diana remembered how he pointed out Mama Hawk, the larger osprey up the nest, and Papa Hawk dive bombing into the water and coming up each time with a fish. Sometimes they would take a ferry over to Shelter Island where there was a row of nests near Ram Island. They could even hear the baby hawk's little peeps. Afterward, they would have lunch or dinner at the Ram's Head Inn. The dining area and terrace stretched out across the lawn down to Copley's Harbor, and guests would be sitting in white Adirondack chairs on the sloping lawn. We should celebrate our anniversary over there, Gary said once. It was in mid-September, and they would stay at the inn. Then the weekend, hike once to the Mashamak Preserve and be pampered with great meals and good wines at the inn. Wasn't meant to be, she muttered now. Wally looked up. I'm not talking to you, sweetie. Diana looked down at him. I don't see our big birdies or their babies. They may have all flown away. He stepped back onto the road. Let's keep walking. A cell phone rang and Diana knew who it was. I don't know if I want to go to the village tonight, Brett. That is another tenant you haven't met yet. Brett, he's a really nice tenant. I'm walking now. I may be all walked out. I have to work a while longer, he said. You don't have to tell me now. He's a young man who stay there for the summer. So this goes on, but I'd like you to read it. And eventually they go home. And do I still have time or am I running out? Do. It's great. I didn't want to go through the whole book. And I believe it. I actually covered all the things that I had marked off. And that is a pleasure to know that. Brett, I will just tell you, Brett is a young man who's going to be an architecture student, college architecture student, working for the summer at an architecture firm out on the island. He's a good young man, and they have some good conversations where he's worried about her dealing with the bad tenants and offers to stay or finish his education so he'll be able to make more money and help take care of her. That's called a sweet tenant. So I want to read here. And I did a lot of research, even with I told you with the weather and everything going on. And that was fun. I enjoyed it. Oh, I didn't tell you one thing that was important, where it came from. I first wrote the book I went back in my 60s to get an MFA at Stony Brook, Southampton. A lot of people were getting MFAs at that time. I was one of them. And I, at one point, signed up for, Roger Rosenblatt, the author and professor. So I took his fiction writing class, and the assignment was to write to write a novel. And to write a short novel. And I had already written and published a couple of stories about tenants, so that was in my mind. So I decided to do this novel, and I did. I drafted must have about 80 pages at that point during the semester, and it was, Roger was encouraging, the students were encouraging. Then I then took it into one other fiction class with Ursula Higgy, who's another well-known writer, her fiction class, and I had the same response, lots of encouragement, criticisms, which I accepted gladly, and so worked more on the book. And then after that, now and then I had critique partners, a lot of writers do, I meet with regularly, and so they weighed in on the book too, and there it is, back and forth. Then I put it aside, and a couple of years ago, I decided it was time to do something. And I decided I wanted to see. I have another book. I'm in the middle of a memoir, and I've been for a while on that. But suddenly, this became my focus. And I worked more on it and more on it. And at that point, I don't think it was set in 2008, which is when I wrote it that long ago, when I drafted it. So I set it in 2008, did all the research, and checked it out. I had first readers read it for me, and took their advice, worked on it. And then when I felt it was ready, I sent it off to a few people, including a former agent who he just didn't have time, he couldn't take it on. But I got encouragement from him and from another writer out here, Bill Henderson, his name, Pushcart Press. Very encouraging. And I acknowledge all these people, of course, in my book. Writers should always do that. And so then I sent it out to two publishers who I thought would deal with this kind of book and got rejected. That's nothing unusual in the writing world. Then I approached Lawrence Noah, who's the publisher of Sunbury Press, who took on Only You, my memoir, as a reissue. And by the way, why he reissued it? Because my first publisher, she got very ill and the company folded. So many of us with that Oaktree Press had to find other places, other homes for our books. So he took on my book. And so I approached him about this, about 3 different tries, because I think he was just too preoccupied, he wasn't paying attention. Then I got the email. Yes, we want to do this book. Oh, did that make my day? And that was in June of 2020. And so things went slowly, as it often happens in the publishing business. But they started really working intensely on it last spring, on the wonderful publishing team with the editor, the book designer, the cover artist. We worked like crazy on this. This took many, many tries because she was not familiar with this area at all. She's with the publishing house. And actually, you've all seen this picture, the people present, and maybe you can see it on screen. And if you drive around, there are houses that actually look like that. It's not my house. I didn't want my house on there, which is also a salt box, but it doesn't look like this one. And so to get the trees right, the plants right, I love the cover, and I hope, and I'm hearing that from other people, they like the cover so much. So then all of a sudden there it was, coming into late spring, and then they decided the publisher to get it out before the summer. So it happened sort of 1, 2, 3. I didn't have prior months to get out and promote it and everything, but it was released in late June. And here I am. It's less than 2 months. And I'm very pleased. As Steve mentioned earlier, it's in all the bookstores now. Even Cameos has copies. It's in a few of the libraries so far. And yes, Barnes and Noble's, Target, I found out online. You want to buy it through Target. I don't know if they have it in the store, but it's kind of encouraging. And it's also a Kindle book. So if you already read it, those who are here with me, but those who are watching, hope you'll buy it or look for it and read it and tell me what you think. Write to me. I'm very much online. So I'd like to ask if anybody has any questions to Steve.
If anybody has any questions, the folks at home are welcome to type them in the chat. And if anyone in our live audience has any questions, you're welcome to ask away.
Anne?
I like the dialogue, but in all of your characters, but I wonder if, I know you always talk to us about journals and like, oh, can you hear it up? Do you keep track of what people say that are interesting things that people say and use them later, or would you just make up all of the conversation?
Oh, nearly all of it's made up. But I'm sure that actual things I've said in the past or people have said, there are lines in there that I couldn't make up myself. Right? Certain things. I don't know if any of the things I quoted, a little bit of Bosnia, I use her accent. I did work as an ESL teacher and for a few years way back. And we also have a Mexican character in here who is our ESL student. So her English isn't the best either. So I don't know. It's a very good question. I would have to go through the whole book and see what lines did I actually say. Good question. Thank you. Diane?
Hi, that was terrific. So thank you very much. You know when it's time to end your book?
Another good question, because people are worried at the end of this book, which I am not going to talk about, because I want people to read it and see what's coming. And how do you know? I don't know. This book, it's kind of open-ended, as you can tell. And I am getting emails, phone conversations, whatever, about what happens next. Now, no, I don't know yet if I'm going to write a sequel. But I wanted to leave that possibility. And I wanted the reader, in this case, to make up their own decisions about what happens. That's not always the way to go with writing, but that's what I did what I wanted to do with this. And frankly, I feel comfortable with that. Sure, not every reader feels comfortable with that. It's right, it does.
We have a comment from Elaine. She says, very enjoyable read. Congratulations. Not at the moment.
Yeah.
Great, I like the book. Be up there. Was that like the Obama convention? Was that like a literary device? Who the memoir would you had that in there too, or was that kind of a device for me from the scene?
The convention?
Yeah.
Oh, if it was a memoir. All of that is real. I don't know if you came in late, but I did so much research on the year 2008 and the convention. I couldn't use too many quotes from the speeches. They're under copyright. I talked to actually somebody at the copyright office in Washington. But no, it's all real. I wanted that part of it. The characters I fictionalized, but other things I wanted real. The setting, and it's from Hampton Bays to Montauk that I'm covering here, I hope. And then, that's what I plan. No, the convention is real. And again, I wrote it in 2008. I just wanted to keep it at that. But there were other news events going on that week. There were the Beijing Olympics were going on. So I didn't go into too much into it, but there where that was happening. There was a hurricane heading toward the United States, and Gustav, I believe was the first king. Gustav was coming toward, I think, Louisiana. I should know, but I don't remember. And so I got that in. I didn't go into too much of the news of the day, but some of it, just to make it real. But it's amazing. When you ask me that question, again, people assume if that's all real, then everything else is real. Those characters, those situations. I think fiction writers want the people to believe what they're writing is real. You too, Jeff, as a writer, right? It's real. And you write memoir yourself. You write nonfiction. Famous Jeff Nichols, by the way, and his book is with me, Jeff. I brought it with me.
Oh, I love it, thank you.
And then they all puked. Why I should have never been a Montauk Groupon charter boat captain. I know Jeff for about 20 years. I had a charter boat captain boyfriend who introduced me to him, and I read and have all your books. And he's reading here next Monday, and I am coming.
Do you have a favorite, like, either part of the book?
I have a few, yeah. I didn't get to the part that I really like the best, which is coming up. I will tell you, it was at the Shinnecock Powwow. And not having it this year. They didn't have it last year. I've gone to many Shinnecock powwows, and I actually know some of the, I have to say, Native Americans, right? Because my daughter worked for many years for the Hampton Jitney, and some of them were bus drivers or had other occupations there. So my favorite scenes are probably at that powwow. So you'll have to read it, Emily. You haven't read it yet.
First of all, I want to say I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was just such a delight to read. And I got away from it, and the ending killed me. But I was like, okay, so it's open for a sequel. You can keep going. But I do actually like being able to decide myself how that went. So, and it had a really good ending. It definitely did. You know, and I don't really know if I have any questions. It's kind of coming off of what Jeff was asking about, like using the convention as a device. I thought it was really great that you did that because it did kind of anchor everything in that period in time. You know, and I had lived out here at that point. I moved out here in 05. And so it kind of, and the convention was very much in my orbit. I paid a lot of attention to it. So, and I love just going to all the different places. And it made me love some of your tenants. It got me to hate some of your tenants. And I mean, there were times when I got a little anxiety. I wanted to strangle them, you know. And I'm like, do I know any of these people? I wonder. You know, so it was just, I really, really thought it was terrific. And yeah, I'm not coming up with any questions, but if I do, I'll come back.
So great, it's so great. As a writer, I have files and chocolate files at home, including on tenants. So I was actually looking through last night, even after all this time and it's published, make sure I didn't, especially with Bosnia, who vaguely is based on someone. But you don't want to get sued, right? That's why it's so important to put in the front that this is a work of fiction. But what you said about the ending, I appreciate that, and the 2008 convention. At that was a very unusual convention with a black guy running for president. So I think we all remember that convention, but rather than others. You know,
I watched it. I was working in Brooklyn. We lived out here. We watched everything we could watch.
by coincidence, this week I've been reading Michelle Obama's memoir, which is very strange because I had to put it down like last night. It's too much. She's right in the middle of it, and here I am going to read tonight. You know, and just, anyway, wonderful book. I have not read his memoir. I wanted to get to something else you said about characters when you go in sense, you know, that helps move the book ahead when you're writing it, when you're actually physically writing it, you know. And I still have files on the people, good and bad tenants, and I have files on the comments that people made on this book. It's just the thing you do as a writer. I don't think I could have done this as a memoir. I don't see how to help people. I don't understand how that could be.
Elaine says, I appreciated your positive diversity in the book and it made me adore Diana. I'd like to thank you for spending the time with us to discuss the latest book. And thank you to the audience for coming out tonight. This is a very large audience compared to what I thought was what's going on now. And I'd like to thank the people at home for zooming in.
Yes.
Pretty nice large group at home. And we wish everybody the best and happy week ahead.
Thank you.